people in villages in the Philippines, Venezuela, even small villages in India. They couldn't work because of COVID, and they had physical hard labor where they were working really, really hard and not making that much money, and now they were out of even that paycheck. And what Axie kind of provided was, hey, you spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day, you can probably earn more than what you were earning doing that hard labor, and you're playing a game.
Anil, my friend, how you doing? So nice to have you here.
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. How's life these days? Are you in New York? It's hot as hell here.
Yeah. I'm in New Jersey right now for this week, just taking care of grandma because my parents are away. But yeah, going to be living in Brooklyn this whole summer, East Williamsburg.
Nice, good stuff. All right, before we jump in, we're gonna have a crazy conversation about your disclosure party in Miami, NFTs, DeFi, all that fun stuff going on at Delphi. But quick shout out, real quick, to our sponsors, Lukka and Exodus. We're going to talk more about them later in the show. And then also, if you guys aren't attending our Bretton Woods conference, it's the first Blockworks event that we're having since COVID and everything like this. So it's in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Head on over to our website. The events team has generously given me a discount code that you can't find anywhere else for 5% off tickets. So use that code EMPIRE. All right. Anil, you coming to Bretton Woods?
Yeah, I mean 5% off. How can I say no
No
to that?
brainer, right? No
Yeah,
brainer.
no brainer.
No brainer. Cool, man. All right, let's before we talk about DeFi, all your guys' investments, I wanted to get the inside story. You guys had you DM'd me Sunday night of Miami and said, "Yo, Disclosure's coming to a house party." What's the story behind that? How'd you guys get linked up with Disclosure?
Yeah, it's actually probably my favorite crypto story so far. So basically a few months ago, right in the heat of the NFT, hype cycle, Disclosure kind of tweeted out, and a bunch of us at Delphi, we're huge fans of Disclosure, been for over a decade now. And essentially they were auctioning off their face, which is like a big part of their brand. But the secret power this NFT really had was that any holder of it got 4 tickets for them and like their friends to the any Disclosure show for eternity, right? So as long as you hold this NFT, you can go to any Disclosure show. And my friends and I were like, man, we could, make our money back on this in like, a couple of years, because we'll just be groupies and just follow Disclosure around everywhere we go. So, we didn't know how much it was going to go for, but, a cool part about the auction was in the last, guy from Disclosure, he's basically playing a 2-hour set during the auction. And then every 10 minutes at the end, whenever a new bid set in, it would reset the timer for 10 minutes, and he would just keep playing. So he ended up pretty much getting wasted, playing, this auction DJ set for an extra 2.5, 3 hours. We were just excited to be a part of it because we were, he was shouting Delphi Digital, which, it's Delphi Digital, but the Europeans always like to pronounce it like that. And, we were just happy to be a part of it. Didn't think we'd win. Ended up winning it for, I think it was 140 grand. And it was myself, my other partner, Jan, one of our fund ops guy, Ansh, who's also one of our best friends, and then 2 guys from Blockchain Capital, Alex and Derek, who they were actually bidding against us early on, and we basically reached out, and they're one of our clients at Delphi, and we were just like, hey guys, like instead of us bidding against each other, let's just team up. We got mad tickets anyway. What happened afterwards, we did not expect. Within 2 hours, shout out to Cooper. He connected us with Guy from Disclosure, and we started hopping on the phone. We actually recorded a podcast with them, etc. And in the weeks after that, we just I kind of bothered Guy a lot. Shot my favorite music taste and stuff, asked him questions, whatever. He actually lives in Miami, so when we went to Miami, the first night we would go to an event, and I hit a guy on the side, and he's like, oh, actually I'm gonna be stopping by there, whatever, let's meet up. And basically, every night that weekend we were just going out together, getting drunk, having fun, meeting people, etc. And on Friday night, we were celebrating one of our friends' birthday, Max Bronstein's, on Monday. And I told Guy about it. I was like, hey, like, what are you doing Monday? You want to come by? He's like, yeah, sure. I was like, would you be down to play it? Not thinking he'd say yes. And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, whatever. You guys bought my NFTs. I'm down to do, whatever you guys want. And literally put that party together within 48 hours. And it ended up being like one of the best nights of my life.
I saw some like debaucherous 5 a.m. videos and pictures
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
looked like a
no
good
one
night.
wanted the night to end. No one wanted the night to end. And Guy from Disclosure is such a like a humble, great guy. Guy came at 6 p.m. At the party. Was basically there to help us set up too, and just like hanging out with all of us. And he also stayed. He played a set. He went on for 3-4 hours almost. So we got. It's actually insane that we got that. And then he also hung around and had beers with us afterwards. He was there till like 4 or 5 a.m. as well. So yeah, I mean, it was a great night.
Nice. All right, wait, so back it up. So so it's 140K split between 4 people or 6 people?
It was 6. So I think it
All right, so
each came out
so
to like
you each dropped like
25.
23, 25. Okay.
Yeah, yes. And honestly, like looking back now, it's like the biggest no-brainer. Even when we bought it, we were like, this is like a steal. Now we're talking to, one of our favorite artists ever. And I think, we will get into this later too about like, the real power of NFTs, right? Really moves that conversation from like, from super fans right into, directly to their artist. And I think, there's the best part about that party, and one of the best nights of my and most anyone who attended that party's life was like that wouldn't have been possible without an NFT, right? Like there was just no way, shape, or form that party was happening without an NFT. And also, Guy from Disclosure, that was the first house party he's played since over a decade ago. He was laughing at us. He was like, I haven't played a house party since before Latch came out. He came 10 years ago. Latch came out, and they just became these superstars. And he was like, I never was able to do like such a small private event, and he had a blast too.
Did the team let you guys? Well, I guess you started the company, so you can do whatever you want. But was this a business expense or a personal expense?
I mean, it ended up it was going to be a personal expense, but then it ended up getting so much brand value, and I think we actually have locked in a couple of different deals, even investments since then. So yeah, it ends up shifting to the Delphi balance sheet, I think.
Yeah, put it on the company card. I like it. Yeah, so no wonder it's a no-brainer investment.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Let's talk real quick about just what Delphi Digital is and the kind of team structure and what you guys have going on, and then we'll jump into the NFT stuff. So what is Delphi?
Yeah, honestly, so Delphi, my partners and I, it was 4 of us. We started it in 2018. We all came from traditional finance backgrounds, right? So essentially, we worked at boring jobs at like Deutsche Bank, Bloomberg, etc. And when we fell down the crypto rabbit hole, like basically everyone else in the space, we just never emerged, back up from it. And our whole thesis was like, hey, if we can get, there's a lot. We were very convicted in what's going on here. We knew something big was happening, but we didn't know how it was going to play out. And it seemed like no one really else did either. So we thought, hey, if we could get paid to, learn about this stuff and kind of start a research firm, it'd kind of feel like cheating. And, that's exactly what we did. So it started in 2018. We started a, research firm. Obviously, Delphi Research, very easy to understand. You have, 2 main subscriptions. One's for retail. It's $50 a month. The other's institutional, $500 a month or $5,000 a year. Prices are actually doubling soon. So, get on that if you're listening to this podcast. But quickly it morphed into, in traditional equity research, when you're covering a company like Apple, I can't get on the phone with Tim Cook and I can't say, hey, Tim, like, from your balance sheet, use X amount of money to go into like, the healthcare industry or the education industry, because I think that's a good fit for Apple. In crypto, we really, learned very early on that, we could actually have a big impact in these protocols that we were covering, right? So we didn't just have to critique them. This actually started when we put out this big ETH report where we walked through why the economics of ETH 2.0 didn't, make total sense, and we were not comfortable with it from a securities perspective. And that was such a big report for us because within 24 hours, we were talking to Vitalik, the whole ETH 2.0 core team, sharing our models. About a month afterwards, Vitalik pushes through a proposal, goes on a podcast, shouts us out, and immediately the floodgates for consulting open, right? And that's when the next evolution of Delphi Consulting started, where, now we're pretty well known because we work with, all the big DeFi protocols like Aave, Synthetics, Yearn. We designed the token econ for AXS, Axie Infinity. And, now we actually have transformed that consulting business into its own beast called Delphi Labs, where we also incubate projects. So we're actually going to be the first team that's building a core piece of Aave's protocol that's not the core team. So really excited about that. We're doing the same thing with Lido, which, we're really excited about as well. And last year, the next progression was starting Delphi Ventures, where we invest in protocols as well. So, really, we have these 3 divisions: research, consulting, ventures. Alpha is kind of the product of each of them, right? Research, we try and find alpha. Consulting, we try and create alpha. ventures we try and, invest in off that alpha. And yeah, I mean, honestly, we just are trying to be like a talent black hole and basically create people's dream jobs within the space. Anyone passionate about the space and who wants to start, contributing, we probably have some room for them at Delphi in one way or another.
Is there one company that you look at in the more traditional capital markets world, or just the world in general, that you're like, okay, that is the dream right there. We want to be like them and model the business after them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, like the honest answer, I mean, obviously we have some like, as far as their credibility and kind of, brand value perspective, maybe something like, Goldman or, when I used to work in banking, whenever we were looking at a deal and we wanted to do DD, sometimes we would go to like PwC or, one of the big four. But whenever there was a big deal that we wanted to lead or something, our MD would always be like, it wouldn't even have to be a conversation. We'd go to like someone like a McKinsey, right? So sure, I have that kind of like in the back of my head, but really the best part about building Delphi has been there's no playbook, right? And there is no real traditional like analog of what we're creating here because of all the synergies from the three divisions and the impact we can have by, building and just like, trying to contribute positively to the space.
Nice one. All right, so we've got a ton of folks who listen to this that actually don't know much about crypto. I would say they know a lot about crypto, but they're crypto adjacent, meaning they don't actually work in the industry yet. And they're still kind of like, all right, they maybe own some Bitcoin, they own some ETH. They probably got in 2017, and now they're starting to dabble a little bit more. They're looking at DeFi. Can you explain what the tokenomics business is and like what is tokenomics?
Yeah, so, some of these people might be have heard on Twitter, whether they liked it or not, have heard the term like shitcoin, right? A shitcoin is basically like a coin that has just, should have no value, all speculative, everything like that. And, a lot of people who are maybe at first looking at the crypto space or have been turned away from the crypto space in the past, they might think, okay, everything's a shitcoin. Everything has no value. It's all speculation, etc. A few years ago, sure, that might have been true to some degree. It definitely is true to, some degree for a lot of projects that still exist today. But I think, a lot of focus that our team spends on is the protocols that actually, have networks where a token plays an important role within that network to either help bootstrap growth, keep security, or in some way is an incentive mechanism for that network to kind of actually accrue value and add value to kind of the society, right? So a lot of what we do in our business is really think through, okay, where does this token play a role? How can this token be used in an innovative, unique way that can actually, one, help the network kind of grow into what it's trying to become, achieve whatever its vision is, but at the same time, hopefully accrue value as that network gains traction, right? So, basically help number go up if the mission is actually achieved, not just because, they spend a lot of marketing or something like that.
How do you actually do that though? So like, let's say you look at Aave, right? And Aave comes to you and they say, we've got this token, or like Uniswap and they've got like Uni token, right? So do you go into the code? Like, are you looking at like what their tokenomics, what does it mean to like look at the tokenomics model?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We definitely have devs and stuff that look at code, but for token econ, you almost don't have to be a technical, person or anything like that. Really, you just got to understand how to think through. It's a lot of game theory, honestly. If you read, like a white paper, so some of these tokens, like Uniswap, very clear, it's like a governance token, right? The value in it is that you get to hopefully make decisions of this network that is, now has over billions of dollars in volume every day and has, a shitload of users. But at the same time, there are, that governance can also maybe enact a fee somewhere down the line, et cetera. So that's kind of like, Uniswap's current token model. And, that could change. The best part about governance tokens is like, this can adapt over time. So the way that our team really does it is really look at it from base principles, right? What is the protocol trying to achieve here? And Aave, right? Our team actually played a big role in helping design kind of their, risk framework and their platform. And, a lot of where the token comes into play is actually providing a backstop, right? And, people who take on that risk to provide that, insurance get an outsized yield too. So there is, and that's a function and that's a big part of what Aave provides as a lending protocol, especially at the volumes that they're doing too. So, the best part about it is every token is different. You're going to continue having these different token models and keep existing. And it's just a really like creative, like white space to work in, which is like the best part. I think.
Let's go high level real quick. Like, what are the different types of token models? There's like the governance model. There's maybe like BNB or like FTT, like lowering fees. Like, what else is out there when it comes to token models?
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to really segment them into buckets because every token kind of changes. Even if you're looking at like centralized exchange tokens, right? They all kind of innovate. Some maybe might give discounts, some might give a burn, some might actually give that money back as like a Leo or something like that. So all of them kind of, and that's my favorite part is like even in the specific sector. So even like index coins, right? Uniswap's token as the governance token is different than how Sushi's token is with X Sushi, as well as different how Rune is built. So it's kind of difficult to really bucket them. But yeah, it's really difficult to bucket them, honestly.
Yeah, no, I got you. You guys have always been really, really early into different trends in crypto, right? Like you guys were some of the first people I knew of that started talking about NFTs. If people subscribe to Delphi Research, not to plug you guys too hard here, but like, you guys give some like crazy 100x investments that you guys have had recently. And like, how do you guys come across, I guess it's a two-part question. How do you guys come across these investments? You guys are early in a lot of tokens at like 30 cents and now they're at, $15 or something, right? So like, A, how do you come across these? And then B, how do you actually have the conviction to allocate capital or allocate resources or whatever it may be to them?
Yeah, that's a great question because when we started Delphi Research, and I think a lot of your listeners might have gotten cold DMs from me, a few years ago when I was trying to reach out to everyone I could and say, hey, listen, we're trying to build this crypto research firm. We're trying to look at the fundamentals, and you should subscribe to us. And everyone, basically everyone came back to us and was like, you guys are idiots. Like, why should we look at fundamentals when we get 80% discounts and get liquidity in 2 weeks? So right from the start, our team was probably one of the few teams in the space that literally didn't look at anything else. We didn't look at discounts or, private markets or anything like that. We were only focused on the fundamentals. And that kind of like really ingrained it and helped us kind of catch these narratives before it happened, right? And also I think a big part of it is kind of the research division itself. So every month we promise our clients a number of reports and we're looking at everything in the space. And the best part about it, and my favorite part about reading Delphi Research is we're not looking in hindsight. We're actually trying to look ahead, and but we do that by not only looking at crypto Twitter's echo chamber. Of course, we're going to cover when Polygon and NFTs go crazy. We're going to give our clients great things to read about that and great analysis and insights. But most of the research that we're doing is actually stuff that no other firm or media site or even most crypto analysts on Twitter are looking at, because we're just like forcing ourselves to look in these spaces that may not be as sexy to people right now, but we think in 9 to 12 months will be kind of like the big focus, right? And I think this was really difficult when we first got started, just because of how fast crypto moves, and it definitely hasn't gotten any easier. But one thing that has been real big benefit to us is our team's grown immensely, right? When we started the company, it's been 4 people, and even though we totally bootstrapped it, we've gone up to 45, 50 people now, right? And so we probably have the biggest research team in crypto. And, even having the biggest research team in crypto, we look around and we know that we're going to miss a majority of what happens in crypto. It's like impossible to catch that. And I think, one thing our team stomachs well for the most part is like not having FOMO. Of course, we get FOMO on some of these 1000Xs that like look so obvious in hindsight. But I think we know that we're not going to capture everything. But, when we do capture something, we really try and get very convicted and then build that conviction out to our audience and show them why we're convicted. And also our audience is very smart too. So they battle test our assumptions as well too, right? So, if we are ever, maybe wrong or thinking about something in a way that maybe someone else has a different opinion, we always get that feedback almost imminently, which has, been huge help.
Yeah. When you guys do the token analysis, so I listened to your episode with Mark Cuban yesterday,
Nice.
and first off, that's pretty cool. Having I think you or whoever the other host was like, Mark, you're just a crypto degen, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
But you guys were talking about something interesting, which is basically all the metrics right now are like, I think he said this. He's like, the metrics right now are crap. Like total value locked, like number of users, like transactions per second. He's like, I don't give a shit about any of these metrics. So when you guys are doing fundamental like analysis on these tokens, like, do you agree with him that these metrics are crap? And then like, how do you actually do the analysis on them?
Yeah, that's it's funny you mentioned that because first of all, Mark is like a total degen and he's totally down the
Complete
rabbit hole.
degen.
Honestly, we keep talking, we keep in touch, and I send him a bunch of our research, and he's asking like all the right questions. We've been kind of blown away, and I think he hit the nail on the head, right? A lot of these metrics are kind of like useless, but at the same time, we know our clients do care about them, so there is some form of it that we, accept, like, okay, this is something that, we'll mention in the report, et cetera, just to, show like a relative value or a comparison. But, that's the part that we're most excited about, actually. And, we have this big Delphi 3.0 launch happening in the next month, where we're basically revamping our whole subscription, updating our whole portal. And I don't want to give too much away, but a big piece of this is actually going to be a portal which allows a lot of these research engineers that we just hired over the past 2-3 months, George and Gerald, to build out some really useful and proprietary tools that you're not going to be able to find on these other sites or online, because we'll do the research, do the analysis, and then know the takeaways of, okay, these are the trends or these are the exact things that you have to watch. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I couldn't agree more.
All right, guys, it's ad time. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. There's one company that's powering a ton of the crypto data in the space. And by crypto data, basically there's all these companies, traditional financial institutions that need crypto data for, accounting purposes, for tracking the value of their assets, for running audits, right? And so there's one company, they're called Lukka, Lukka. I've talked about them on the podcast before. They're powering some of the largest businesses in the world in both the crypto and traditional financial services space. They're the primary pricing source used by S&P Dow Jones Indices for their new crypto index. So I wanted to just throw this out there. If you guys are any sort of business that needs to value crypto assets, create financial statements, perform any sort of normal accounting audit process, you guys should head on over. It's Lukka, Lukka, lukka.tech, lukka.tech/empire, or just head over to lukka.tech/empire. Tell them I sent you. They'll take care of you. Alrighty, let me know what you think. The other day I posted on Twitter, I said, who's the best entrepreneur? Who's the entrepreneur that everyone should know in crypto but maybe doesn't know already, right? We're not talking like the mainstream, the super big folks. Who's the best entrepreneur that's kind of under the radar in crypto? God, post went crazy, got like 300, 400 comments. There was one name that kept popping up, JP Richardson. JP Richardson at Exodus. So I thought, man, that's crazy. Exodus is one of our sponsors. Let me call him out, right? So JP Richardson, CEO of Exodus, done an amazing job building one of crypto's most loved apps. And there's a number of reasons. They got a mobile app, they got a desktop app. You can instantly exchange over 100 different currencies. They've got interactive charts. They're fully integrated with the Trezor hardware wallet, so you can always be secure. So if you're looking to buy crypto, if you're looking to just get away from just buying one or two currencies, you want to explore other things, go to exodus.com/empire, or just search Exodus in the App Store or Play Store. Check them out. Shoot me a DM on Twitter. Let me know what you thought. Go follow JP Richardson. Go check out Exodus. All right, exodus.com/empire. Outside of Marky Mark Cuban, any other like big, billionaire names or any other big like institutions that are clients?
Yeah. There's many I can't say because they're still, either moving into space or probably don't want me to say. But we talked to a bunch of different teams here. We talked to Chamath and his team, who've just started allocating a lot into the space. And I think my favorite parts about these conversations is like, every one of these conversations, it's not like the same pitch works, right? Like different things about DeFi and crypto bring in different types of investors. Like with the social capital and Jamaat's team, when we went on line with them, I think one thing that really blew their mind was when we showed them, Dune Analytics, and we showed them like, the Maker financial statements and also just like all the data and we were showing them how it updated in real time, and they're like, wow, they're like, this is amazing that the team, that Maker's team built this. And we were like, that's the best part. Like, this is a Maker's team. This could be anyone who knows SQL could go on, pull this. And they were just like mind blown, like, all right, let's start investing money in all this stuff, like, it's been,
you
it's
just
been
had that
with
Nexus Mutual, and I think it was the DeFi Pulse guys, it's like putting together basically the real time they call them, quarterly reports in the traditional world, but like real time reports on balance sheet, income statement, things like that.
It's huge. Yeah, no, it's absolutely massive. And I think like these conversations, and the best part about it is we crypto Twitter is its own kind of like, it's stuck in its own vacuum and, in its own echo chamber where, when prices go down, everyone turns bearish. It's the end of crypto, etc. Meanwhile, like during these weeks, we're having calls with, some of these biggest, the biggest capital allocators, around right now. And they're getting their minds blown, and they're not, they're running towards it. They're not running away, right? I couldn't be more excited, honestly.
Yeah. What do you think the guys like Chamath and Mark Cuban, what do they like about DeFi? Like, what is it that is so enticing about crypto? Is it just the returns, which is fair?
Yeah, no, I think the returns are one part, but those guys have so much opportunity that, returns isn't going to be the only reason they come into the space, right? I think that technology is really like a 100x kind of improvement to a lot of what goes on in LegFi. I'm not saying all of it is, perfect and is already such an improvement, but the core attributes, right? It's permissionless, it's transparent. The transparency is just such a big key. We've seen this happen in the financial crisis as well. If that was built on, crypto, you'd be able to actually see the risk in the system rather than having to wait a couple of months before people like, oh, whoa, we were that leveraged. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. I think also like the openness and also, the composability of protocols is just so massive. We're coming off like a decade where, FANG and all these fintech companies have just absolutely crushed it. One of my favorite companies, and, when I used in my old life as, when I used to invest a lot in the stock market, one of my favorite companies was like Square, right? For two reasons. They did two things really well and that were really difficult. One was, the Cash App. This is direct to consumer. Then two is their Square Terminal, which was direct to business. Those are two really hard segments that most companies can't even get one right, and they were able to do both. And I was just like mind blown, like, all right, I need to put some money in the Square. But when you compare that to something like DeFi, like Square's team, no matter how great they are, they're just it's not even close, right? They're not going to be able to compete with the world of DeFi and these developers that have this tool set where everything that someone else builds over there that you've never even talked to can be a Lego set that you use in your application, and you don't have to rebuild everything from the ground up. Where Square, they're basically building with their limited kind of tool set within Square and their company, and maybe other like middleware things like Plaid or something like that. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, look at Coinbase and Uniswap, right? Coinbase has like 1,000 employees. Uniswap has like 20 or 30 or 50, however many they have now, but like 5% of the employees of Coinbase, and Uniswap volumes like not anymore right now, but used to get close to Coinbase, right?
No, absolutely. And I think Teo, their strategy lead, who I'm friends with as well, he tweeted out that stat, and I think one big important piece of that stat too is like how much money was raised, right? I think Coinbase raised almost $500 million, or maybe a little half a bill. And then Uniswap raised maybe 13-15 mil, right? Like, and this is just really showing you the power of these networks, and or really just a testament to like what's actually being built here, right? And how scalable these things actually are.
Yeah, 540 mil. I just looked it up.
So 540 mil.
540 mil, 1,000 plus employees, and you got this little decentralized thing coming up on biting at their heels, right? It's pretty cool to see. There's like this interesting thing that happens in crypto where in traditional finance you have venture capital and you have hedge funds, right? And in crypto, like those concepts are kind of married together because a lot of the venture firms end up buying tokens. And if you own a liquid asset, well, inherently you're not a VC, you're more like a hedge fund. Especially if you end up trading it. So then inherently you're a hedge fund, right? So what is, when you see something like Solana, right? Solana just raised 314 million. Mm-hmm. What does venture investing into Solana actually look like? Like, are the VCs getting a token, like SOL token, at a big discount to the market with maybe a 2 or 3 year lockup? Like, how does that actually work?
Yeah. I think we actually participate in that Solana round, so I can definitely get some more clarity around there. But you know, it obviously depends on the deal, but the standard format usually is, especially because there's so much volatility that during the raise, even if you're having in a bull market, crypto raises happen in 2 weeks. You'll get on a call on Monday and they're saying they're closing on Wednesday, like make a decision ASAP, which is it was pretty annoying as an investor, but great for the founders. But if that volatility is just so key, right? Like, by the time you start raising and by the time you end raising, your price might have gone up by 3, 4x, etc. So usually the way that people do it is like a moving average of the last like 30 days or something like that. Or, if there is a discount involved, say 20, 30% discount to the moving average of the past 30 days. And then obviously with that lock, I think we have seen some unique formats come up where might be 2 rounds being raised at the same time, where one raise is at a lower price but has a much longer lock, and then one has a raise that has a much higher price but a much shorter lock. And I thought that was actually a creative way to go about it. But if I was those founders, I would basically say anyone who wants a shorter lock, like I wouldn't let them invest. I would just like do the one raise, and you want to be long term aligned. And I think these locks do help with that. They don't help totally though. I don't think they totally solve the issue because a lot of these times, if you get 1/5, 1/6 of your vested tokens in the first year, and the thing has gone up by 3, 4x, and you got a discount already, like you're going to be able to get at least a majority of your principal out. So it's not as much risk as I think. You're being compensated for a lot more than the risk that you're taking. So I don't think it's a perfect model yet. I think and the good thing is that the ecosystem is, crypto is a lot, the community is very small, everyone knows everyone else. And, the more people who are working on these different projects, I think it's really like up to them to be able to say, okay, these were the investors that actually added value. And these are the investors that, kind of were just a little bit malicious and were, just got in and didn't do anything afterwards and just dumped the token after they, got their vesting done.
Yeah. Once you get a token in a venture raise, can you then like stake it? Could you do some yield farming with it? Could you like earn interest on it, or do you basically have to put it in like cold storage for 2 years?
Yeah, so this is also very dependent. There's some networks that almost do gamify it and say, hey, investors, like your tokens will be locked, but you can earn this massive yield on it. We were actually in a situation like that, and it wasn't on purpose. One of our investments, Illuvium, great team, great community. When the contracts went live for staking, a lot of the community members, and even investors on our team and the core team, they realized, oh wait, actually investors' tokens who were locked can actually start earning this outsized yield, and that's gonna hurt the community, right? Because we already are gonna have we're gonna have way more tokens than most of these community members who are just starting to get exposure. That our yields are just gonna be massive, and we're just going to have an outsized portion. So what was beautiful about this is the community, the investors, I think it was us, Framework, and Parify, and the core team. We actually came together and came to a proposal to the community and said, hey, we'll give up that, we don't want to be able to earn that. And I think that was the difference, and the community just absolutely loved it. There were huge fans that we weren't even, because at that point we had already gotten that, right? Like we could have just kept our mouths shut, not said anything, and been able to earn that massive yield, before the community. But honestly, like if you're thinking out long term, that's how projects die, right? By not by being fair to your community, not actually spreading it to the people and the supporters who actually want to be involved. So yeah, I was really happy with that outcome. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely projects that give that extra benefit to investors. Which I honestly, as an investor, and this is kind of talking against myself, I don't think it's the right thing to do.
You said there's some like malicious funds. I'm gonna make you name all of them. No, who are some of the best funds in DeFi right now?
In DeFi right now, yeah, I mean,
obviously Parify's in like every deal. Framework, those guys are killing it.
Yeah, we're the fun part is like, we're really close with most of these funds in the space by now. But most of them, if not all of them, we can, are proud to call clients. And I think each has their own benefit. But yeah, I mean, we really do enjoy working with the Parify guys a lot. Framework, they've done some great stuff too, and we've co-invested with them on some of my favorite deals, honestly. One fund that I think should probably get a little bit more spotlight is IDO. They're not, they may not be DeFi, native because they don't come from traditional finance backgrounds. They're actually like from a design perspective. They're well known for designing like that first mouse at Apple. But these guys are, they're really on their game. They really are thinking about the future of things, and they're probably one of our favorite funds to, to chat with. The Mechanism guys, for example, Andrew King, Ben Simon, Mark Weinstein. Those are some really good friends, and I think they understand incentive mechanisms, just as well as our team and consulting team at Delphi does. So they're always fun to talk to. And I think, I'm probably forgetting so many names here because there are a lot of great funds, but, another one that we really do enjoy investing with is, obviously 3 Arrows and the Spartan guys. They also bring a whole unique perspective to us. We're stuck here in the West, even though we have now our team of 50 is basically decentralized. We actually have some analysts that share an office with Defiance Capital from 3 Arrows, so in Singapore. But they really help bring a unique perspective to our conversations as well.
Nice. Shout out Jason Choi. He's got a good podcast, Block Crunch.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, great dude. Let's talk about the NFT fund, because we talked about DeFi a bunch. So you guys launched partnered with this NFT investor, G Money, for an NFT fund. If I remember correctly, G Money was the guy who guy or gal, I'm not sure, but purchased a CryptoPunk NFT for, I think it was like 150 or 140 Ethereum back in the day. It's like 200K or 150K. I forget when exactly it was, but like, what's the backstory of the fund? Why did you guys launch an NFT fund?
Yeah, so some context too. It's actually a totally on-chain fund. And shout out to the Flamingo DAO guys too. They also were the pioneers in kind of the on-chain space. We actually did it in a slightly different way. We used one of our portfolio investors.
Wait, so Neil, what does it mean? What does it mean? Sorry to interrupt, but like, what's it mean that it's an entirely on-chain fund for the folks who maybe aren't actively in crypto?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, so to give you some context, basically one of our portfolio companies, Syndicate, protocol, they're building out the infrastructure for DAOs to be spun up quickly, these investment firms and social change funds to be spun up quickly, as well as a social network around kind of investing, which I think later this year you'll hear a lot more about them. But what it means to be an on-chain fund is, so G and my partner Jan and I, we'd become quite close earlier this year. And he had a lot of NFT alpha, and we have a really good NFT team, but he had a unique perspective where a lot of our NFT team were more so productive NFTs like gaming, which I'm sure we'll get into as well later. And we had a lot of DeFi alpha, obviously being Delphi. So we thought, why not marry the three and bring G in, and kind of share all that alpha together. And we were actually going to try and spin up a fund, a traditional fund, but, we looked into it, the legal paperwork, it was going to take 2 to 3 months. We were right in the NFT hype cycle. We were like, man, this is going to be a headache. We almost called off the whole entire fund. Then Syndicate, we were catching up with them because we, have bi-weekly calls with them to game plan and, help them wherever we can. And they basically said, hey, we're actually launching in a couple of weeks. We'd love for you guys to, be one of the first teams that we launch like a fund with. Do you have any ideas? And Jan and I kind of like looked at each other and laughed and said, actually, we want to launch this like NFT fund, but we can't do it traditionally. So it would be really cool to launch this on chain with you guys. And what that means is basically everything that, first of all, that whole on chain fund, we were able to get an LLC and set up within 15 minutes and for less than $15. That is just like, such a difference to what, setting up the original Delphi Ventures fund was and what setting up the original NFT fund was going to be, that it was just like blew our minds being users of a protocol that we invested in and being one of the first users. It was just like, we know this thing is going to, absolutely crush it. And what really that automates away is everything, right? So like, all the investors, all they had to do was send their contributions to one of the wallet addresses. And then the wallet addresses, now whenever we make investments, it'll know, okay, this is the X% of this address. And then whenever we do distributions, the carry, the 20%, will be baked into it too. So whenever we give distributions back, it's going to go back to the addresses that allocated. The 20% is going to automatically be taken out. And, further down the line, you can see integrations where this is going to have, an integration with like something like a token tax or, a tax software where basically it'll look on chain and say, okay, you invested this much. This holding period was X amount of time because it's all on chain, right? It's all on the ledger. And this is how much you got back. These are your taxes. Everything's taken care of. And, no like admin, no auditing, no nothing, because it's all, just done on chain, which is like, it's been total mind blowing to me.
Faster, cheaper, like
Everything.
just
And
in
the cool part
general
about it
easier.
too is,
Yeah.
and the cool part about it too is like, as Syndicate rolls out more features, you're going to see us use this as a signaling thing too. Like you're going to be able to see us. It's going to be like a social network of us saying, okay, we bought this, we invested in this protocol. Why did we invest in this protocol? We'll write something, a comment about it. Oh, we bought this NFT. Oh, you know what? Even though we own X amount, say 10 punks, we just sold this punk, but this is why we sold it, because we think this guy can bring more value or this girl can bring more value, and this is why we sold it, etc. And it starts building this web. And I think that whole market is kind of like untapped right now. And I think Syndicate's gonna, do it a really cool way. So we were excited to have Infinity, which is the NFT fund, and anyone who's building anything cool in the NFT space or something that you think Delphi can add value in, we're really hands-on investors. We basically become extensions of the teams that we invest in. Please reach out to us, G Money, or you can just email us at nft@delphidigital.io, and we'll get back to you and hopefully start running you through the DD process.
Always hustling, Anil. I love it.
Always.
So in terms of NFTs, like a lot of folks who, again, like a lot of people who listen to the show maybe are a little like on the outside of crypto looking in. And so they look at prices primarily, or they look at like mainstream media, or they look at kind of the hype cycles. So a lot of maybe my high school friends or college buddies, I'll get texts being like, oh, did NFTs die? Right? Like,
Yeah.
are NFTs dead? And that's when you have to make the decision of how deep of a conversation you want to have, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, so what's going, like, can you give us an update on maybe post NFT, like the real hype cycle, like what's going on in the NFT space right now? Like where prices have obviously drawn down a little bit, like where are we at? What's getting built? What are you excited about in NFTs right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is the best part. Builders are building, right? We have seen such an inflow of NFT deals, and it's not slowed down at all. I think there are a lot of uninspired projects that we'll talk about. Usually don't make it to our investment committee because our NFT team and analysts are able to help filter that, which you'll always see, I think. But the innovation is definitely still happening. I think people are really inspired, and I think very similar to how the 2017 bubble kind of brought in a lot of talent and a lot of capital in the space. Same thing happened with that NFT hype cycle. I think, as far as NFT hype cycle, dying down, like, oh, what a surprise. Like people didn't want to spend 200 grand on JPEGs and things like that. Like, how that just wasn't sustainable. I think anyone who thought, that, NFTs are dead though, is going to be very, very naive and, very surprised in, a shorter timeline than I think most expect. I think a lot of the projects that we're seeing in the NFT space are, building very fast and also building for long timelines, right? So, I couldn't be more excited about that space.
If you're talking to maybe a friend where'd you work before this? Bloomberg?
Deutsche Bank, but yeah, Bloomberg before that.
Deutsche Bank. If you're talking to a buddy at like Bloomberg or Deutsche Bank, and he or she comes to you and says like, Anil, all right, like I'm into crypto, like I bought Bitcoin, I bought ETH, like I really want to get into DeFi, I want to buy some NFTs, but I want to make money, right? Like what's like the first like platform or second platform that you send them to? Like how do you get them integrated into the ecosystem a little more than just buying Bitcoin and ETH?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think we did this teach-ins for a few of these big, billionaire and big investing firms where we would, put together a presentation, and then we went through the presentation, and by slide 2, we were like, all right, we're exiting this presentation. You guys can read this after. We're just going to show you, we're going to show you the new world. And we would just boot up MetaMask, and start going through these protocols. And a lot of these protocols we went to were, easy ones like, Uniswap, Aave, but at the same time showing them kind of their traditional counterparts, right? So obviously Uniswap, you can go with like a centralized one, but with these lending protocols, these derivative protocols, showing them how you're taking out a loan, and then also going to Dune Analytics to see the data. Really, I think we tailor those teach-ins and that kind of like class, depending on who my audience is. So some people I might show, something like Zapper, where, we're investors in Zapper and big fan of that team. They've done a great job of just showing one that, they recently had Quest, but they just done a great job of making DeFi a little bit easier to understand. Because I think at first when people see it and, they do get excited of, okay, cool, this is awesome. But like, holy shit, you guys remember all these sites? Like how do, one of my friends, he has like this whole crypto bookmarks thing. It started with like, Swap Aave, and now it's like a whole folder that like when he clicks on it, it's like, thousands.
I have the same thing.
Yeah. And I think, Zapper is an easy way to like make it just a little bit more approachable, right? But at the same time, if I have a friend who is interested in gaming and, NFTs and things like that, maybe I'll show them something like what's going on in Axie Infinity and kind of, the community there. Maybe I have friends who are, interested in like music and things like that. Maybe I'll show them something on like, catalog and how you can start becoming a curator there, or maybe even like, what happens in the FWB like group chat and, what community can actually achieve. My favorite part about crypto is like there's so many different rabbit holes, and that's why I'm so bullish on it. It's just kind of like betting on human ingenuity, where, like the NFT hype cycle, our team was obviously very bullish on NFTs, but I'd be totally lying if I thought, if we told our clients like, hey, by the way, like, in February of this year, NFTs are going to go like 1,000x, OpenSea is going to make X amount of money, whatever. I don't think anyone could have expected that. But at the same time, I think it's like, NFTs were able to be kind of that 10x from, DeFi. DeFi might bring this user in, but NFTs bring this a whole different funnel. And I think, DAO, social tokens, gaming, all these different sectors that crypto is obviously going to become embedded within, is just going to become more and more funnels to, the one same place, which is, crypto.
Totally. In terms of gaming, you mentioned Axie a few times. I just watched this wild video. I think it was on VentureBeat. It was like 18 minutes talking about how Axie is helping people in the Philippines who usually make like $200 to $300 a month. They're making like $300 to $400 a month. These guys in, so I think it's like a little town outside of Manila in the Philippines. And they're making like $300, $400 a month just playing this game called Axie, which I feel like I'm late to the game here, but you guys have been shouting from the rooftops about Axie. So can you talk to gaming, maybe just dig into like what in the world is Axie and how do people get paid to play this game, and like how is it profitable for them, and like what does this model look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Axie's kind of pioneered and really absolutely crushed this model of play to earn gaming, right? What does that mean? You kind of described it there. Instead of, playing, a game and, earning an in-game, an in-game currency that you can't kind of take out of the game, or purchasing skins that you can't take out of the game, everything in Axie is very open. It's crypto. So, basically the way you can think about it is it's kind of like Pokemon, where you can own, a digital battle pet that's an NFT. And actually last year, our team, we spent 160 grand on buying like 5 of these, and everyone, thought we were crazy then. And, now people, I think, estimate they're, for 160 grand, now people estimate they're at least 4 or 5 mil or something like that. Now, just because of the growth that the game has seen. But, I think the fascinating part about Axie is like, if you take a step back and think about why crypto gaming hasn't become huge yet, I think it's like because the opportunity cost in the space, right? Like, I think everyone in crypto, me included, and everyone at Delphi, we get FOMO when we're not working because of how much information asymmetry there is, how much opportunity there is in crypto. And, when our team can spend, a day, 2 days, or a week diving into a protocol, understanding it in and out, and get an alpha from like a gem that we find, or, find the next farm that's offering, for, a few hours, maybe 5,000% yield, which, those days aren't here right now. It's tough for, people like us to be like, take the time out of our day, no matter how fun a game, like Axie might be, to, go on and play for 8 hours and earn $300-400, so the opportunity cost for, crypto investors was so high that crypto gaming couldn't really take off, because while crypto gaming was always marketing to like, hey, crypto gamers come here, you can buy NFTs, etc. It was kind of the wrong market to audience to like market to. What changed was, especially during COVID, I mean, this was happening a little bit beforehand, but COVID really accelerated this trend where, people in villages in the Philippines, Venezuela, even small villages in India, they were out of jobs. They couldn't work because of COVID. And they had physical hard labor where they were working really, really hard and not making that much money. And now they were out of even that paycheck and couldn't put food on the table for their family, maybe pay for books or toys for their kids. And it was just really depressing, depressing set of events that kind of happened there. What Axie kind of provided was, hey, this might not be a great opportunity for these crypto whales and crypto people who are degens who are able to earn X amount of yield and find these investment opportunities. But, it's a game where you spend, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. You can probably earn more than what you were earning doing that hard labor. And you're playing a game. And you're not even just playing a game. You're joining a community. You're learning how to invest. It's actually an educational platform, right? One of my favorite stories about Axie is, back in, I think it was September, and I might get this date wrong or a month wrong, when Uniswap did their airdrop, right? Their retroactive airdrop. In the game, and I didn't go over this, in the game, you're basically earning a currency called SLP, and you can trade that SLP and trade it into, ETH or fiat or whatever you want to pay bills, etc. But the demand for the SLP comes from, it actually having utility within the game, which is like the key part here. So, one key utility of SLP is like it allows you to breed Axies. So it basically lets you like have more Axies by, burning some of this. What was crazy about, this was a lot of people, they were maybe using Uniswap to convert their SLP into fiat to pay bills, etc. During COVID, and then Uniswap hit them with this airdrop that was worth $1,300, which, remember, these guys were making $400, $500 a month. This is like a quarter worth of their salary, sometimes some even more, right? And I think a lot of these people, we talked to a bunch of them. My favorite part about this story is like a lot of these people, when they got that unit airdrop, what they did? They didn't go and transfer it into fiat. They held on to it. They learned how to invest, and now that Uniswap airdrop, I think, it's probably worth anywhere from 8 to 10. I think at some point it was worth 13 or 15 grand, right? And this is like life-changing money for a lot of people in the world. And it's one of my favorite parts about crypto is and Axie is one of my favorite projects because it has that real world impact, right? You're actually seeing people being lifted up out of poverty and learning to to be a part of a community, to be actually learning how to invest. And it's just a fascinating story that I think is really underreported, honestly.
Yeah, I love that. Are there any other platforms or like protocols or companies out there that are building that you don't think get enough attention and recognition?
Man, let me pull up Delphi Ventures portfolio, but
yeah. Time to time to pump the bag.
Yeah, I think one that actually ties really well into Axie is Yield Guild. This is something that we led the seed in, and actually is probably what I consider as Delphi's first like incubation, because we were so close with the team and really helped them get off the ground. Yield Guild is kind of like basically a DAO that coordinates people across the metaverse, in the gaming metaverse, and using Axie as an example, because Axie is going to be one of the first games that they really launch in part.
By the way, Anil, you know how crazy you sound to people who aren't in crypto when you're saying it's a DAO that coordinates people across the metaverse. So,
I'll dive into that, give them some context. So, where Axie, you can see these players who are earning an income. You can think about it as a job, right? And these people are doing, labor, and farming these assets, playing the game, which, even though it's a lot of fun, it still is a job. Axie is basically going to be like a job board for the metaverse. What this means is like, there are going to be a lot of different games. There are already games that are launching with this play to earn aspect. I mentioned Illuvium earlier. They just launched staking, I think today. For their assets. They're also going to be another big game. There's games like Star Atlas, etc. And there are going to be all these different environments where, these games are going to need players to come, bootstrap the game, play, troubleshoot, help them battle test where maybe the game needs to be modified, etc. And at the same time, people want to, help be onboarded in these games. What game is good? What game should I join? Where do I add value, etc. Yield Guild kind of sits at the center of that, and basically, and this is just one aspect of Yield Guild, which is like my favorite part about it. It basically sits in the center, and it actually helps people, coordinate with those jobs. So maybe some of your listeners are, familiar with Yearn, which is Yearn Finance, Wi-Fi, which basically a lot of what Yearn was able to do and still is able to do is like bootstrap protocols because it can direct liquidity, right? People lock some assets or some USDC into these protocols to let Yearn do like the robo asset manager in the background and give them a yield back. You can think of Wi-Fi as that for, I mean, you can think of Yield Guild as that for gaming a little bit because it's like, okay, players come in and say, hey, I have X amount of time that I want to devote every week, or, I want to devote X amount of time of my life to play a game and earn some money. Where should I go? Yield Guild will help direct you to those games and help you partner with those games. At the same time, providing a huge benefit to these games, which, like I said earlier, crypto gaming hasn't taken off yet. I think Yield Guild is going to play a huge role in helping bootstrap a lot of the games that end up bringing in, the next 10, 100x, audience of crypto.
Yeah. Kind of related topic. You guys have a lot of the founding team at Delphi. You guys weren't like engineers. You were more like, worked in finance and maybe math backgrounds. I don't know, your econ background or whatever it was. When you guys are on the venture side of things, looking to invest in companies, will you ever invest in a founding team that isn't a bunch of engineers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've even invested in anonymous teams, right? Which I think a lot of your traditional or legacy finance people are going to be like, dude, like, let me hang up on this podcast right now.
Yeah, you lost like half the listeners right there.
Yeah, right. Honestly, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously it'd be a huge plus, and we do look for someone with that engineering experience. I think a lot of what the value that we do bring is we have a wide network. So if we find some founders that maybe don't have a technical background, that have a really good idea, that we think are very passionate, or good people that I think are easy to work with, and people that we want to help see succeed, we'll help them recruit that engineer, or the engineers that they need, the team, etc. On the Delphi side, none of the founders have technical background, but we brought in our CTO Luke Saunders, who is like goes above and beyond, and he's also just such a great product manager. He's been able to help us and a lot of our portfolio companies hire some great talent across the space, and through that we brought on a lot of engineers, a lot of developers that are helping us incubate protocols and other cool stuff that I can't really talk about yet at Delphi, that also they have huge networks, and they're constantly telling me like, hey, I have this one engineer who's thinking of leaving X protocol. Like, do you guys have any good projects? So yeah, to long story short, absolutely.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna start to wrap this up. A few closing questions for you. One that I'm really curious about, just kind of on the founder side of things, is you've got the venture side of the business, you've got the research side of the business, and you have the consulting side of the business. And then within all of these, you have NFTs, you have gaming, you have DeFi. You just have you have all these cool companies popping up. How are you spending your time right now?
Yeah, how am I spending my time? So I'm like the CEO of Delphi, right? So a lot of my time is just like making sure all the pieces are working well and kind of growing. A lot of my time right now is focused on Delphi 3.0, which is that big launch that I was telling you about. We really do have this like incredible subscription that I think people are going to be mind blown when they finally see what we've been working so hard on this year. And again, prices are going up soon, so everyone should try and lock in a subscription soon, because I think over the next few weeks we're going to start slowly rolling out and leaking out information of exactly what's being built there. We actually also have a lot of what my time's been spent over this past month and over the next few weeks is this new kind of secret division of Delphi called Delphi Creative that we're spinning up too. What this focuses on, simply put, is it's going to focus on NFT strategies, social token strategies. We're working with probably the big, like, and I don't want to sound wrong when I say this, but probably the biggest artist in the world on some crazy stuff. But at the same time, we're working with a lot of our other favorite artists on developing not only just these strategies, but developing the tech and the gaps in the market that we see in infrastructure, at least, to actually help make these things come true. So yeah, I mean, Delphi Creative is something that I'm really interested in as well, that we're actually hiring a lot for. So if anyone who's listening on this from that legacy background has experience in music, very interested in NFTs, just kind of rebuilding what the music industry should actually look like, that's going to be kind of like one of the big goals of Delphi Creative.
Nice, amazing. You guys are hiring, yeah, across the board, not just for the creative team?
always hiring. And I think, at this point, I've DM'd so many people in crypto that a lot of them might be listening and have gotten this question from me. When I hire at Delphi, I don't have a job description in mind. I don't have, hey, this is the role that I think, we're looking for. I literally go out, and if I see someone talented, passionate, I ask them, hey, what's your dream role? What would you wake up every day and it wouldn't be work to you, it'd be play to you. And that's where I know you're gonna like excel and thrive. And competitors and anyone trying to compete with us on that avenue is just not even going to try and keep up, because for them it's work, for us it's play.
How do you hire people who are making hundreds of thousands a year from yield farming?
Yeah, that's I think Delphi is probably the only, like, one of the only firms that can compete at that level. Why? Because we have one, we do have this big research team where as soon as you come in, you're part of the family, and you basically have total transparency and kind of like the information asymmetry that maybe one research analyst might come up with this idea and say, hey, this is how I think about things. Any question you have, our Telegram groups are basically your Google search, right? You can just ask, and someone on the team, more likely than not, is either going to have an answer or know where to find that answer. But on the flip side, I think, like I said earlier, we bootstrap the company from the ground up. No division has ever raised money. Delphi Ventures is all personal capital. Because of that, it allows us to be very flexible to a point that most other funds aren't able to, right? So, for example, on our Delphi, ventures, when we invest in deals, we also allow our team and analysts, associates to co-invest with us. They also, for whoever brought the deal, they get, a good portion of carry as well, right? Which I think most other funds may not even offer fractions of that. At the same time, we're incubating a lot of projects which you're not really going to be able to get access to other than, being a community member once it launches, other than, being a Delphi team member and, being there on the ground floor as we build this out. And I think, other than that, our retention has been, basically 100% since we started, which I think speaks volume to kind of like how, friendly we are and how great of a place we are to work. But I think, we sit at a very unique space in crypto where, a lot of people out there I hear are like, I don't want to just do this one thing on this one protocol. I don't want to do this. Like, everything is interesting to us. And I think that's the biggest weakness of Delphi. Is like, we're just perpetually curious, and we're just interested in every single rabbit hole. Like, someone puts a rabbit hole in front of us, like, all of us are going to be able to jump in and like lose days, weeks to it. And I think we just have created like a really good culture and environment for, people who thrive and thrive doing that, to, just excel.
How much of your time would you say is spent like messing around, yield farming, digging into some of the protocols, like investing, some of that kind of stuff, versus like building the business and like managing the team and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, last year was when us co-founders, we started really separating out the roles. We had already kind of known where everyone had been fitting and who had been doing what. I had a research MJ, Jan was managing partner of ventures, Jose had a labs. But I was kind of upset because I was like, man, like, it's gonna suck not being on the research side, because I just loved researching. I love writing about this stuff. And I often felt that I didn't understand a protocol or something till I truly wrote about it. But as time has gone on, I've found that what I really do enjoy is building out the business, seeing where it's going, and supporting kind of our team. And at the same time, I found trusting kind of our research team, our analyst associates. Whenever I have a question, even when I have to say, hey, where should I be farming right now? I'll ask and I'll get 10 different answers, and then our chat will talk about it, and I'll finally figure out like the best answer, and it'll save me way more time. And honestly, a lot of the analysts and associates that I've hired are, honestly better researchers than I ever could be. So really let people excel where they can. And I think, my niche is, building out the business. So most of my time nowadays is just focused on, building out Delphi.
Nice. You said that the Axie NFTs, the 5 Axies that you bought for like 150, 160K are now like 4 to 5 million. Nice little 30x right there. How big is the fund now?
Axie Infinity those Axies was actually part of another project that we'll roll out later this year. We're working with some portfolio companies on some interesting stuff called the Delphi Estate. It basically owns a bunch of the NFTs, so like the Axies, the disclosure base, etc. That is really, Axies are a bulk of that. That's so, I guess if you're counting it at NAV, is probably somewhere between 3 to 5 mil. Our fund, we started with all personal capital. And we actually got kind of rugged by our anchor investor, who I won't say the name or anything of. And we all kind of put capital together, and we started with 1 million. Now it's over 100. That's been going really well. And Infinity, we just raised 5 mil for, which most of which hasn't been deployed yet. And I'm really excited to start throwing money around in the NFT space.
Nice, very cool, man. All right, one last question that I ask everybody, and then you can flip the interview and ask me one question if you want. What is the kind of one thing that's the biggest thing on your mind right now? Maybe something that's stressing you out, maybe something that's like keeping you up at night, either that, and hopefully that someone in the community or maybe one of the listeners can help you out with.
Yeah, honestly, it is that Delphi creative stuff, right? We really are looking for kind of like the most passionate and talented people to come join this like ambitious, vision and division of Delphi. It is, I think it definitely does have synergies to the rest of Delphi, but I think, from a research ventures consulting background, it is a little bit more left field. So, we're really trying to get, the best of the best to help us build that, because I think it's going to be one of the most rewarding experiences. So again, if, you're interested in the intersection of music, crypto, NFTs, working with artists on kind of like innovative new ways to release music, connect with their fans, please get in touch.
Love it. Very cool, man. All right. You want to flip the interview? I don't know if you have one question for me.
Yeah. Who was your favorite podcast guest and who was your least favorite podcast guest?
Oh man, I mean, least favorite right now for sure. So
yeah,
I'm not even sure if we're releasing this one.
That's what I was hoping for.
So least favorite. I mean, I got to go with this one. Unfortunately, my friend. My favorite one is by far Sam Bankman-Fried.
Nice, yeah.
The guy's just like
a legend.
It's almost too easy of an answer, but like I remember recording the episode. It was a 2-hour interview, and halfway through it, he's like, yeah, I'm in like Hong Kong right now. I was like, wait a minute, Sam, like what time is it out there? He goes, oh, it's 3 a.m. I was like, Sam, man, we could have, I could have stayed up late for you. Like, he's like, no, like I wanted to work around your schedule. I was like, Sam, man, like, you're literally like worth $10 billion. You're like, He's like, no, I like The Office. Like, I was like, okay. So it was a crazy episode. And then I was like, when are you going to sleep? He's like, he pulls up his calendar, like on the call. He's like, I have a block from like 7 a.m. till 8:30 a.m. Oh no, call it 8 a.m. Okay, yeah, I'll probably sleep from 7 to 8. I was like, oh man, this guy's just operating on a different level right now.
Oh man, yeah, that guy needs sleep. I'm a big 8-hour guy, so and I tell my friends to get that sleep too. And everyone listening,
are you
sleep.
8 hours a night?
Yeah, I need 8 hours. I mean, this morning was 7 hours, and I'm not in the best shape. I'm your worst worst podcast because of that. If I had 8 hours, I would have been the best.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Cool, man. All right. Anything else you want to share with folks?
No. Honestly, no. This is a great pod. Really appreciate you for having me on. You really enjoyed the questions, conversation, and looking forward to doing this again in a year or two.
Yeah, man. Likewise. All right. Be well, Anil.
Take care.